ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So today we will enter into a very important concept which has been described in the Bhagavad Gita, is the concept of the divine incarnation, the concept of avatar, the purpose of the descent of God in a human form. So it has been described from the 4th to the 8th verse of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So we will start with the slokas and then we will go to the discussion. This is a very, very important subject, that how divine can incarnate. This is a thing which bewilders us. There's something which is infinite. How can it come and take the form of a finite? What's the idea which has been spoken of? In these few slokas, it will be spoken of, and we will resort to the yoga philosophy, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. There are some wonderful sutras which gives us the idea that why our understanding is limited and why a what to speak of a divine incarnation. Even a spiritual realized person, their knowledge becomes as if something pervasive. They can see the past of their own incarnations, the past births. If you read the life of Gautam Buddha, you will find it is mentioned there that just before he went to the nirvana, the first thing that came to his mind was the flashback of the past lives, from where all the Jataka stories have evolved. And in all our scriptures, in Yoga Sutras, it has been mentioned that para vairagya, supreme renunciation, comes when this portal opens up. You can see your past lives, because you see that for each and every life, all our worldly endeavors were the be all and end all of our existence, to earn, to just have family, to have some reputation, and then whatever nature gives us at a certain point of time. We are growing in our youth. Everything is as if nature pouring us in bounty. And know it for certain, the plan of the universe is such, as we proceed through our life, whatever nature gives us in bounty, is going to take it back. We all have to grow old. Nothing we can take with ourselves. We all have to die. So this cycle, when you are looking at your past, this cycle, this eternal cycle of being born and again this death, with all aspirations, nothing gets fulfilled. Again you are born, is going on. And then the idea which now we are speaking always, that what's the utility of this type of life, but we don't realize when something such vivid you see with your own, as if with your own vision you're seeing your past, that the Yoga Sutra says ensues in para vairagya, supreme renunciation. And that alone can enter in the liberation. So what to speak of a divine incarnation, even for a spiritual realized soul? Before he has gone to that realization, the step just ahead of that is the opening of the portal of the past lives. He can just see as if. And those things will be discussed in these few verses. And in the Yoga Sutra, they have spoken the science behind it. Many of us now don't read the Yoga Sutras, but it's a wonderful scripture. It's a scripture which speaks of the science of the psychology. And you also will understand it, how wonderfully this concept has been described thousands of years back in these Yoga Sutras. So let us first enter into the slokas, and then gradually, as we come to the context, we will refer to this Yoga Sutra to understand the ideas which has been spoken of there. So the fourth sloka of the fourth chapter, where Arjuna is asking Krishna, that Krishna has told that it is me who at the inception of the creation gave this knowledge, this yoga, which I am at present pertaining, giving it to you, delivering it to you. Don't think it is something which has been just devised by me to motivate you to take part in the battle. Don't think that. It is not that I'm instigating. It is a knowledge which has come through this spiritual transmission, this generation after generation, this ideas of parampara, lineage. And it is me only who instructed it at the very inception of the creation to Vivaswan, the god, the sun god, who instructed it to Ikshwaku, the first king of the Sun dynasty. And he again instructed it to, sun god instructed it to Manu, the first human being, the progenitor of the humankind, and Manu instructed it to Ikshwaku, the first king of the Sun dynasty. So now naturally Arjuna is bewildered that Krishna is of my age. He is my contemporary. How can he just speak of instructing this yoga to the sun at the very inception of the creation? So that's the doubt which he is speaking of. Arjuna Vacha aparang bhavato janma parang janma vivaswatah katham etat vijaniyam tvamadau praktavan iti. Aparang bhavato janma. So you were born much after Vivaswana. Vivaswana, the sun god. You were born much after Vivaswana. Aparang bhavato janma, parang janma vivaswata. The sun god has originated much earlier. You came much later. Katham etat vijanya. So how am I to understand that in the very beginning, you instructed this science to him, to sun god? Katham etat vijaniyam tvam adav praktavan. You have spoken as it to sun god. How am I to understand that? So that's the doubt which Arjuna is expressing to Sri Krishna. So the next sloka, fifth sloka. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Vahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. So you and me both have went through innumerable births. There have been innumerable births. Bahuni, many. Me vyatitani, we have spent. Janmani, so many births. Tava cha Arjuna, that you and me both have gone through that succession of births in the past. Tanyaham, tani aham, tanyaham. There's all those Veda Sarvani. I remember them. It's something vivid for me. Natvam Vetha Parantava. But you don't know. So here, this wonderful concept of reincarnation comes. And what we are alpagya, we have a limited understanding. The avatara comes with that vast knowledge of his past incarnations. So this is something which speaks of his lordship, Isha. So let us try to understand. This is the sutras. If we link with the Yoga Sutras, you will get a wonderful idea. Wonderful ideas comes from there. So first, just in a general way, we can just understand that why we don't remember our past. Just that example which we were giving even in the last class. Suppose this room, all the doors and windows we close, it becomes dark. And with a projector, we project something on the screen. It's vivid. And now someone comes and opens all the doors and windows. So and then you find that nothing is visible in the screen. The moment the light floods in from outside, nothing is visible. So what has happened? Has the picture really disappeared? No, it is still there. The picture is still there, but because the moment you open the doors and windows, the light floods in and that overwhelms the projection on the screen and it's not visible. That's what happens with our life. We are so much engrossed with our present life. The moment we are born, with our senses, the senses are like the windows, they are all open. You're constantly engaged with the world, so much attached to it, that we shouldn't be thinking that the past is in no way visible. It is visible. Like that projector, it is being projected in the screen of your mind. It is there. But this immediate or interaction with the world, our concerns, our desires, that floods in, and that doesn't allow us to see the past. You will find even nowadays, I don't know how much they are genuine. Even in TV, sometimes you will find there are these shows where this past regression is there. But you know that they say that if you see, if something is, even if it's not genuine, but you can never think of anything, if some truth is there, that only can be imitated. Even if someone is feigning, there must be some truth of that only they feign. So let us just find, if you find that, let us not go whether it is true or not, but the procedure they follow. If you just go to the TV and just, if you go to any internet and try to find some videos on past regression, what's the procedure they are following? You'll find a wonderful thing. The person who is supposed to regress to his past, they give some auto suggestion. The one who is conducting the thing, he or she will be giving some auto suggestion. They will be asked to relax in some couch, and they will be giving some suggestion in where he's or she's supposed to relax completely. The mind should be free from all thoughts. So you'll find that's the basic procedure. And that takes them to gradually to that regression of the past. What it speaks of, simple. If you can really calm down the mind, close your doors and windows, the projection is always going on. It becomes visible. So this is the basic idea. Now we will go to that idea in the Yoga Sutra. It's a wonderful idea. There are so many ideas when we speak that we believe in past. Now anyone can ask us that you believe in past, then why don't you remember your past? Why don't we remember our past? Why our memory is selective? Just to give a very funny example, that we believe in evolution, that most probably we were born as some cattle, in some past birth. It's of course possible. In evolution, it is possible. So we gradually became a human being. Now, as a cattle, we used to graze on the grass, isn't it? So we had a tremendous liking for it. Now, as a human being, do we salivate seeing the grass? No, we don't salivate. We don't feel anything. So then what about the sanskara? If you say the sanskara is never lost, it is saved, where it has gone. So these things has been described in Yoga Sutra in a wonderful way. You also will be amazed at how they dealt with the human psychology. The idea is that our mind is nothing but vrittis. Constantly you will find there is thought pulsations. It never stops. Even when I am sleeping, we are dreaming. Even when I'm not dreaming, when I'm in deep sleep, I may think that my mind is totally calm. But nowadays, through EEG, it has been found, still you have waves. There are some waves in your mind, even when you're deep sleep. The mind never stops. That's in Yoga Sutra has been mentioned as vrittis. Very interesting. The terminologies are very interesting. The word vritti doesn't mean wave. The word vritti means profession. That if you're a doctor, your vritti is to be a medical practitioner. A businessman, his vritti is to just be a businessman. A teacher, these are all vrittis. Now, why the thought waves are called vrittis? Vritti doesn't mean wave. Vritti means profession. Very interesting. How these terms were coined. Now, my vritti, what it is meant for? It is meant to sustain me, isn't it? A doctor sustains himself by his practice as a medical practitioner. A teacher, a professor, a businessman. Everyone, they're of course serving others, but at the same time, they sustain themselves with their profession. So vritti means what? The thing by which you sustain yourself. That's your vritti. Now the yoga understood the mind doesn't exist, cannot exist if these waves are not there. As long as the waves are there, the mind is. If the wave stops, the mind is not. And that's the basic difference between the Eastern and the Western philosophy. In the Eastern philosophy, in the Western philosophy, the soul has been equated with the mind. So why you are? Because you think you are. That's why. That's what your thought says you are. But in Vedanta, in this yoga, the idea of your real identity comes when you go beyond the mind. That as long as you have the mind, you can never know yourself. The reality is avang manasa gochara. It is beyond vak, beyond mind, mana. Something beyond that. That's your reality. So that's why very second sutra in the Yoga Sutra is what? Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. To suppress these waves of the mind, the thoughts of the mind. Now, why they are called vritti? As we told, the mind cannot sustain itself without those thoughts. The moment you can stop the thought, the mind is no more there. So the mind as if is sustained by these waves. So now you will understand the thing which sustains you, that is your vritti. So the profession of the mind is the waves, is the vritti. So that's why they are called vritti. So these thought waves are constantly there, even when I'm sleeping, awake. So that's what constitutes my limited individuality. Now this vritti in Yoga Sutra, very interestingly, they have distinguished into two categories. One is called klishta and another is aklishta. Klishta means affliction. Klesha means from klesha the word klishta comes. Aklishta. There are certain vrittis with which feelings, emotions, nothing is involved. It is just, it gives us knowledge. Just I'm seeing at the watch. I neither like it, I neither hate it. It is just there. It is giving me some knowledge, but my emotive faculty is not getting linked to it. So these are all aklishta vritti. And there is the vrittis which is a matter of our concern, which is the cause of our bondage, is the klishta vritti. The vrittis which are linked with your emotive faculty, your feelings. That whenever I see something, even for a microbe, if you give a nutrient, it will be drawn towards it. If you give some toxin, it will be repelled from it. So from there, it shows the moment we have the idea in this limited body and I get identified with it, I develop raga, attachment, or dvesha, hatred. And this raga and dvesha in turn finds expression as abhinivesha. Why I have developed this raga? Because I want to preserve myself as this limited body-mind complex. I have forgotten my real nature. My real nature is reflected through this body-mind complex, and I take this to be something which is real, and that's why I have to preserve it. So all my attachment comes from the idea of sustaining myself as a limited individuality. That results in raga. And anything which is harmful to it, that results in dvesha. And it becomes so crystallized that I develop abhinivesha, the tremendous attachment to this life, to this body. So what it speaks of, this all the emotive faculties which are associated with the vrittis, those vrittis are called klishta vritti. So a klishta. Now whatever may be the vritti, they are never lost. Very interesting. They are never lost. Once a vritti is there in your mind, the impression of it immediately gets saved. It gets as sanskara. It gets saved in your mind, as in the subconscious mind. It is there. Whatever you experience, it's always there. It is there as a sanskara, as the latent impression, always in your subconscious mind. So all the vrittis results in sanskara. And this sanskara, which is in your subconscious mind, they again come back as memory in your thought. So suppose today I had some delicacy, and then I forgot about it. And then a few days after a month or so, someone brings, or just I'm passing by the restaurant, and I think of going there, and I see in that menu that particular delicacy which I have tasted is there in the menu. Immediately the memory is revived. Oh, It's something I have really enjoyed, I have relished. Let me have it again. So all the sanskara result in memory. It comes back as memory. Whenever favorable circumstance is there, it comes back as memory. So these sanskaras, these memories and the latent impressions which are not lost, which is always there in your subconscious mind. Whatever I have experienced from the very inception of creation till at the present, through all innumerable births which I have gone through, nothing is lost. In the Yoga Sutra, they say these are all vasanas. These terms are very important. These vasanas are all stored in my mind. And all these thoughts resulting in actions, those actions, these repetitive actions also as vasanas is stored in your mind. So this is something which is very individual. All the vasanas in the individual aspect is getting stored as sanskaras and smriti in my mind. There's an individual aspect. But the wonderful thing in Yoga Sutra, they have told that there is another cosmic aspect of our karma. Whatever actions we are doing, individuality is getting stored as sanskaras in your mind, but it has a cosmic effect. What's that cosmic effect? There's the idea of karma ashaya. Ashaya means receptacle. Karma ashaya. That whatever actions you are doing, whatever sanskara you are producing, that to fulfill that, you need favorable circumstances, isn't it? If I develop that any test for certain delicacy, then what? To really relish it, again, I will be searching the restaurant where I have went. So you will be drawn to that environment. Again, you will be drawn, you will be going there. That becomes the receptacle where your desires can be fulfilled. So this is the cosmic, this is not something directly in my hand. So every action is resulting sanskara as an individual aspect. In another aspect, in the cosmic, you are going to be gravitated to some circumstances where you find the receptacle where your karmas can be fulfilled. That is the idea of karmashaya. And this karmashaya, based on all the actions, some are more prevalent in my mind, some are very strong, some are quite weak. The strong desires, they all will be resulting in this vipaka, the transformation, resulting in my birth in a particular species. Okay, that to give an example is the best. Sometimes just plainly just saying it becomes difficult. Suppose as a young boy or a young girl, when we started growing, so we never liked to study, but we found that our parents, our teachers, everyone insisted that based on your grades, your future will be determined, study. They were constantly reminding us that it is something very important in our life. And we had to use our willpower. Though we never liked, because of the insistence, we started studying, that we used our willpower. That, okay, the morning and the evening, some hours, we have to sit for our studies. And who is a good student? The one who doesn't have to use the will anymore. Somehow the study has become a passion, started liking it. Now what happens? Now your sanskara, accordingly, you're creating that sanskara. You have developed a liking for the studies. And in the school, you will find the immediate result, which has an individual effect in my life. I find I'm getting good grades because I'm studying naturally based as you're studying. So in the examinations, you're performing well, you're getting good grades. This now, say you are in that now the 12th year. After that, you have to determine your course in the university, in what stream you are going to study in for your higher studies. So now there an interesting thing will happen. So when in the 12th standard you got good grades, based on your grades, now your this scope will open up. Most probably you got good grades. With that, you can get admitted for some medical course. Now, once you enter into that medical course, that entire medical college is not the result of your karma, isn't it? Was it the result of your karma? Because you were good in your studies, has that resulted in that medical college? No. It is a collective effort. The entire society, the government, the tax you pay, that has resulted in that structure there. So that's what we are saying, that cosmic, that is the karmashaya, that is already there. Your actions resulted in gravitating you to that circumstance. So now you got good grades, you go there. So most probably among all the subjects, you had a fascination for life science. You want to study medical science, and that becomes your vipaka, transformation. That takes you there. Now a very interesting thing will happen. That why we forget all the impressions of the past, only selective memory we have. Now see, as a student in the school, I was good in all the subjects. I had a lot of co-curricular activities. I was interested in many of those activities. I was good in this language, this on the language and social science, in all the subjects. I was good. I had some lot of extracurricular activities. Most probably I was taking part in various games. Now when I am in the medical college, as this becomes my new world, you will find that for the time being, all has got shadowed, isn't it? That my interest in the social studies, in literature, that has got shadowed. My interest in the medical, though I was good in all the subjects, but now the interest as per the ashaya, as per the receptacle where I am, only those particular subject, that now gets prominence. I start studying more of that life science only, not the other subjects. And when you get established as a doctor, and again you have some relaxation, most probably now, that struggle is gone, some leisure is there, those interests again may come back. It was hidden in your mind, isn't it? So now we will understand this idea of karmashaya resulting in jati, ayu, bhoga. I'm born in a particular jati, particular species that has a particular lifespan, and I have to go through this particular experiences based on the jati in which I have been born. Other things are for the time being shadowed. So that's the idea has been spoken of in the Yoga Sutra. Know it for certain that whatever desires we have, it's never lost. Somehow today or tomorrow, based on the intensity of the desire, you will create your own world. I will give a wonderful example. I was in Lucknow, in India, for some time, and there, as a novice, I joined there, and there, unfortunately, it happened of one of our close associates' child. They were staying in Calcutta. They came to the center at Lucknow, and they just related that it's very unfortunate. Our son, he got this addicted. He has become a drug addict. And now we are very much concerned. So we were thinking, why don't you please keep him in the ashram? Our senior Swamiji, who was there, to him they requested that in the ashram he stays, as you have boundary wall, never allow him to go outside. Give him a lot of work, like that we have our garden, we have some work in our shrine, maybe in the kitchen, there's a hospital also. If required, you can engage him in some work in the hospital. So all those, so you keep him engaged in all those works so that he doesn't, his mind remains engaged in something productive, and just don't allow him to go out of the boundary so that he's isolated from the external world. Maybe he may come out from this addiction. The Swamiji agreed. Oh, okay, let's try. As no as he was a very close associate of ours, and so he was allowed in. First, we found that the boy's behavior is quite good. He's a very nice boy, behaving very well. But we realized, we have started missing things in our room. In those days, we had radio, and the radio is missing. Watch, the timepiece is missing. And we never used to lock the room inside because after all, ashram has a boundary wall. There's a security, there's outside, there's a gate. So our room used to be open. Now we started locking because suddenly we found it's all things are missing. And then one day from the shrine, the box, the offering box, the entire box was missing. Someone has taken out from the wall. How is it possible? The security guard is there, at night security is there, no one can enter. Then it must be someone who is inside there doing. How can it be? In ashram, after all, it's all the monks were staying. So it was perplexing us. That's what's happening. And in the meantime, for the second time, that offering box again was taken out from the wall. That 2 boxes were stolen, offering box. And then again, what happened after a few days, At night, the security guard just started blowing the whistle very strongly, and he woke us up. I don't know what happened at the mid of night. It was it was 2 a.m. in the morning. It's early morning. It means it's night. Still, it's night. And then he called us, took us behind the garage, and where that boy who was an addict, he kept him just tied his hands, and he was just sitting there so that he may not run away. He was then, we were surprised. What has happened? He was a well-behaved boy. We knew he was drug addict, but we find no signs and that he was. And then the security told, I have caught him. Is he who was again trying to take out of this offering box? Actually, he took it out from the wall, and he was actually digging a hole behind the garage, so that he can keep it there. He can just hide it beneath the ground. And that's when he was caught. And the other 2 boxes were found there. So we were all surprised. How come all these things are there? What has happened? Then we started interrogating him. And then we were really surprised. He never went out of the ashram. He was there in the ashram. But the drug peddlers, because in the daytime the ashram is open, anyone can come. And there are some places where you can meet other people, like in the shrine or in the office, where he was interacting with these drug peddlers. The drug peddlers came in, he was interacting with them. They gave him free for some time, and then they were asking him money. Now, where he will get money? And then he was resorting to all those things. Now, just think that he was in a total protected environment in the ashram. You cannot think a place better than that. And he cannot go out. Security is there. But if you have a desire, know it for certain, the world will open up for you. That comes in, it drags in, it comes in. It is going to happen. So you can, in no way, we can avoid that. That's why in our scriptures, so much importance is given to keep your mind always pure. That you may think some thought is in my mind, it is not finding expression through my life. It is, I'm safe. No, that's the thing. Is that we know it for certain. Somehow today or tomorrow, you will be gravitated. We all will be gravitated to all our desires. So that's the thing which is happening through eternity. As per the intensity of the desire, particular desires decides in what condition we will be born. And that becomes our be all and end all of our existence for the time being. Other things we forget. Suppose in this life, I developed a passion for learning music, but it never materialized. But I had an intense desire. Most probably in the next birth, you will be born in a family where all are musicians. And you will find that there are so many child prodigy in such type of family. Then you may say that as they're in that environment, that's why they have developed. But you will find that their father, mother being a musician, they're actually teaching small children. So their own child is actually learning along with the other children. But their own child, they will be learning much at a faster rate than the others. What it speaks of, he has already developed those sanskaras, most probably in the past birth, which gravitated him to this family. In that family, he was born in this environment, and that these intense desires that are prominent in the mind, the other things are all hidden. So all your immediate, that's your immediate interaction with the world, as per your desire, that decides what's being filtered out and what's prominent in your mind. So now you will understand the idea that though we are passing through these innumerable births, there's bahuni me vyatitani, janmani tavacha Arjuna, tanyaham veda sarvani, natvam veda parantapa. That we forget, that why we forget, we get an idea that this how wonderfully this mind is working. Innumerable desires are there, and that's why, very interesting, in our scriptures they say that the desire which is very prominent in your mind, and we find it has started affecting my life, I use my willpower to get rid of it, and sometimes we get rid of it, and we feel elated. But as in the spiritual sense, they are saying nothing is done. To get rid of one desire is nothing, because there are innumerable desires in our mind. Innumerable desires. One we get rid of, the other arises. So how we can be liberated? It's almost impossible. So there are so many desires in our mind. So that's the subject in the Yoga Sutra, which they take it how to get rid of all the desires. And in one go, we can actually get rid of all of them. So it's the idea that of our limited individuality, the ego, with which all those desires are linked. If you can get rid of our ego, all the desires fall off all at once. In the words of Ramakrishna, Ami Mukta, someone asked, Ami Mukta Habo Kabe, when shall I be free? His answer was wonderful. When I within the inverted commas, when I cease to be, and that I is no more there, you're free. That's the cause of bondage. In the word sin, S-I-N, sin, we say that in Vedanta we don't believe in sin. But if we take sin as something which is a matter of concern, then you cannot just understand this word sin in this way, that the core of sin is I. Literally, core of sin is S-I-N, I is in the middle between S and N. And actually, in our life, all our misgivings, all the things which is the cause of our bondage is that I, which is the core. You can get rid of it, then all the blemishes falls off once at a time. So that's the idea, that now we will just go, let us forget about avatar. That in our life, when we start our spiritual journey, a time comes when our mind starts pervading our past births also. We remember that how it happens. So that's the idea. Let's try to understand that. There is a very wonderful another yoga sutra. There is a sutra in the it is in the third chapter, the Vibhuti Pada. It's almost in the end. There's a concept of pratibha. Pratibha. What is that? Tarakam sarva vishayam sarvatha vishayam akramam cha iti vivekajam jnanam. That the ultimate discriminative knowledge comes. When it comes, what happens? Let us not go to the word by word literal meaning. The idea is you get akramam jnanam. Your knowledge is no more sequential. The entire knowledge flashes in your mind all at once. What it's speaking of, that when you're reading a book, you're reading page by page, isn't it? First you start line by line, word by word, line by line, page by page, you're reading. When the entire book has been read, you close the book. Now the knowledge of the entire book is there in your mind. Now, someone brings the book and keeps in front of you, you see that the title of the book. Immediately now, as you have already read it, it's not that again you have to go to the page by page. Immediately the gist of the book, the summary comes in your mind, it flashes. So they say for a man of realization, that's what happens. What is speaking of? That each page means each life. We are going through so many lives. When the realization comes, everything comes in a flash. How it happens? It's a very wide subject. Just to have an idea that what the Yoga Sutra is speaking, we will go to that, this description of these various types of samapatti, this meditation, which leads in samadhi. Very nice. They say when you can really calm down your mind, the first samadhi that comes is sananda, a state where you are full of bliss. That's the first thing. That happens either through some, this mindfulness or through some focus. When you are trying to observe your mind, stop all the thoughts just by observing. You are aware that what the thoughts are arising. When you focus on your mind, you're mindful about it without responding to what's in your mind, the mind gradually calms down. So that is one way. Or you focus in one thought so that other thoughts are all starts falling off. Whatever way you may do it. When the mind really calms down, the first experience is of bliss. The more you can calm down, the more the bliss ensues. So from where that bliss comes, this is a very wonderful thing of meditation. Any meditation you do, that bliss ensues. Now, suppose you are carrying a lot of weight in your shoulder. You are just on some excursion. You are having a bag full of all your belongings. But as you're always carrying it, you get so habituated with it, you don't feel the weight. It has just become as if a part of you. Now, Then suddenly, just to relax, you keep down the bag. And you feel tremendous a sense of lightness, a let go. When you were carrying the bag, as you got habituated with it, you are not feeling the weight. But the moment you keep it down, immediately you feel tremendously relaxed. A let go ensues. Because, yes, I'm feeling light. I've kept down the weight. I'm feeling very light now. Now we are carrying this baggage constantly in your mind, all our thoughts, our desires, constantly we are carrying. And as we are carrying it always, we got so habituated, we don't feel it. But when you are practicing meditation, you have calmed down the mind, then there the let go ensues. Suddenly this baggage you have dropped. And that results in that bliss. So you forget, and that once the bliss ensues, now you get so focused to the bliss, you just contemplate on that bliss, everything starts falling off. But that's just the initial stage. From this Ananda state comes Asmita. It's very interesting. What's that? When I am enjoying something, at the beginning, I am totally identified with that enjoyment. It takes some time to realize that I am separate from the enjoyment. This is the thing I'm enjoying. So when in Ananda state you are for quite some time, you get habituated with that state, then the idea comes, it is not that I am one with the bliss. Bliss is something, I am enjoying it. This I is that pure asmita. You have separated, and now see that all other desires has fallen off. Only this bliss was there. Now you start separating yourself from that bliss. What remains filtered out is a pure asmita, which is not attached. The sense of amness is there, that I am, but it is not associated with any of your likings, dislikings, any of your emotions. Is that pure I. The moment you get established in that pure I, immediately what happens? That let go has ensued. The mind is totally cleared off. And now you start regressing to the past. You can see. So even for a man of, what you say, he's not an avatar, just an ordinary being like us, through his spiritual evolution, he goes to the state where he can see the past. Who is an avatar? One who, out of infinite compassion, unconditional love for humanity, he's a free soul. He is free, the God. If you take it, it's the God himself, then of course he's the omnipotent God. He knows everything. He's just, what's the cause of his birth? Not like us, like thousands of devotions, their desires. He is born because he has some, what you say, that unconditional love for the humanity. That to understand this idea of unconditional love, there's a very nice parable of Sri Ramakrishna. Very nice parable. The three friends were passing down the street, and there was a huge wall. There was a huge wall. They were curious to know what's behind this, what's beyond the wall. So they managed to get a ladder. With one ladder, they reclined it on the wall. One of them climbed the ladder. And he was so elated when he just peeped to the other side, was on the top of the wall. He peeped the other side. He was so elated, he didn't even have that, that he couldn't even have the time to relate his experience to the other two friends. He was so excited. He was so elated. He simply jumped to the other side. He was ecstatic. The second friend also made the same fate. When he got up, he couldn't resist himself. He jumped. The third one, when he got up, he also felt like jumping to the other side. It was a mirth of joy. But the thought came, if I jump, no one is there to relate this experience to the world. What we are missing. So he restrained himself, came down, avatarana, he's coming down. So what's the motivation for coming down? He has no personal motive, no selfish motive, not to do business. He's not a mercenary. Just out of unbound love for the humanity, he is or she is coming down. That's the avatarana. So here also this idea of avatarana comes. It is only because of unconditional love he comes down. Very interesting. You know that they say that even to have gold ornaments, you can never have gold ornaments with pure gold. Little alloy has to be there. Little dross has to be there. You cannot make ornaments with pure gold. It will become something very soft. It won't take any form. So similarly, just we were that at the very beginning we started with the discussion that what results in incarnation of birth, human birth, is a klishta vrittis. A klishta vritti has nothing to do with our incarnations, with our taking birth again and again. It has nothing to do with the aklishta, which only with knowledge. We never have all those vasanas. The result of birth is vasana. Now, avatara, he also has to come down. And he has no vasanas. With what he comes down? It's only because of that unconditional love. That's the dross. That is also an emotion. With that, he comes down. But as that's something which doesn't speak of selfishness, his mind is very pure, clean. So he comes down just like an actor. He's just an actor. He's coming down just like an actor. He knows that he's just acting. He never forgets his own glory, the divine glory. We are all divine because of Maya. The word Maya is very interesting. These words itself, if you just know the etymological meaning, you will find the entire philosophy behind it. What is the meaning of the word Maya? Ya means yatha yatha, as it is. Ma is a negation of that. That whatever I am seeing, perceiving, whatever idea I have about myself, everything is Maya, is not yatha yatha, is not as it is. The ignorance came and it is showing me something as true, which actually is not true. Its reality is something else. And when I think I am as a limited being, it is because of that Maya. It is a wrong knowledge. It is because of that ignorance. I've forgotten my reality. It is the same. That's why Sri Ramakrishna in the gospel again and again you'll find is saying that Pash Baddha Jeev, Pash Mukta Shiv. All the Pash means all these desires, these afflictions. As long as you are bound within that, you are Jiva. When all those afflictions falls off, you are Shiva. So we don't know that. But the one who is an avatar, he is always aware of his divine glory. Because of unconditional love, he's coming down so that he can help out of the humanity from the state in which they are suffering there. So he can show the way out. So that's the idea which we find in this sloka. We will find that you'll find these slokas are very interesting. We have to study them in such a way that the meaning becomes very clear. Otherwise, we resort to some idea that, oh, God is very powerful. But what that power means actually? This power doesn't mean of the strength in which we have the idea of strength, that it speaks of tremendous strength. It actually speaks of love. So generally we think strength as something masculine, and love is something feminine. But we forget that real strength is love. And the strength of God that coming down is actually real this love, unconditional love, which has nothing to get in return. That love is the strength. To understand that love is the strength, again, let us resort to one example which Swami Vivekananda is giving, a very nice example, that the real strength, real courage always comes from love. Real strength comes from love. And he's giving a very nice example. Suppose a girl is passing down a young mother is passing down the street, and she hears the barking of a dog. She haven't even seen the dog. She have just heard the barking of the dog. From nowhere the dog is barking. And she is so terrified, she starts running, frantically running. The next day, the same girl, the same young mother, she is holding a child now today. And Swamiji is saying, now just think the scenario. What to speak of a dog? If today even a lion comes, you will find the same girl who was scared of the barking of a dog. Today she is facing the lion, guarding the child. The child, that if the lion pounces, let it pounce on me. I have to save the child. From where he got that strength, that courage? Only love, nothing else. So love gives that courage, the strength. The strength of avatar, it's not something masculine. It's motherly. It's extremely feminine. It's something which speaks of that unconditional love. With that, they come down, just taking resort to his own Maya. Otherwise, there's nothing can bind him. This the thing which binds him is that unconditional love. With that, he descends. So that's the idea which will be spoken of in the next sloka. In this sloka, they spoke that I know my past, you don't know your past, and I, resorting to my own Maya, the Maya which forces you to come down to take birth, the same Maya, I use it as my servant. For you, it is your master. For me, it is my servant. I use it it is my adhina. That we are Maya adhin, and God is Maya adhish. He is the Lord of Maya, and we are bound by Maya. So he takes the Maya as its own tool to come down to help out mankind. And that's being spoken of in the next sloka, the sixth sloka. What is this saying? Ajopi sanyavyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamaya. So though I am unborn, there's nothing there to bind me. Nothing can gravitate me down again to this physical plane. I'm unborn. That our desires gravitates us to the circumstances in which we find ourselves. We generally blame the world, but actually blame is on ourselves. We have to blame ourselves. It is we who has resulted in the circumstances in which we are. It is our desires that brings us. So, but he is unborn. The Lord is unborn because he has no desires. There cannot be anything which can gravitate him down to this world of physical existence. Ajopi, son avyayatma, means he's avyaya. Means he's means the word avyaya is very interesting. That you may have a long life, but at the same time, when you are aging, he is constantly transforming. They speak of shada vikara. We go through 6 changes. Jayate, asti, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, nasti. That first, we are not eternal, and then even the lifespan which we have, we are constantly decaying, changing, transforming. We were small kids, we are growing. Jayate, asti, we exist for some time. We are born, we exist for some time. Vardhate, we grow for some time. And then comes the question of viparinamate. In the middle age, the transformation starts. And then apakshiyate, the process of decay starts, jara. And then nasti. Then at last, this physical existence is annihilated. So, avyaya means he never goes through any of this transformation. He is Purana Purusha. The word Purana is very interesting. Purana means Pura api navaiva. Means it which never gets old. It's ever aging but never old. Pura api, though it is existing through eternity, but it is nava eva. It is always new. Though it is ever aging, it is ever new. Pura api nava eva. Pura api, that is Purana. So he is Purana, Purana Purusha. He is Avyaya. And he is Aja, unborn. And he is the Lord of the entire Bhuta. Anything that is that exists, Bhuta, that which is born. Means from the word, from the verb root, bhu, the word Bhuta came. Bhu means to be born. So anything that is born. He is the Lord of all of them, Ishwaropi San. So he has no purpose of taking birth. But he also resorting to his own Maya because of this unconditional love. Prakritim swam adhisthaya. I resort to my own Maya. I get hold of my own Maya. Sambhavami. I take birth as an incarnation by resorting to my own Maya, Atma Maya. Sri Ramakrishna is to give a very nice example. The Maya, which is the cause of our bondage, with that Maya, when the Lord is associated, he's always associated because it, after all, Maya is the Lord's Maya. He is the Mai. The Maya is the Lord of the Maya. He's always with that, but that never affects the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna in his own simple way used to say, the snake, a venomous snake, When it bites you, you are going to die. But the snake is always with the snake. It is not affecting it. So Lord is always with the Maya. It in no way affects him, but it inflicts the fangs of ignorance, the poison of ignorance to all who are under him. This Bhuta, he's the Ishwar of them, he's the Lord of them. All the Bhutas are being afflicted by Maya, but he resorts to the Maya. He takes help of the Maya to come down to help us out from this state of our afflictions. So what's the purpose of his birth? Well, in what context the birth of a divine incarnation materializes? That will be spoken of in the 7th and in the 8th verse. This is very interesting. What he's saying, we have studied this. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sriyamyaham. So whenever the dharma declines, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati, and then adharma is at the rise, abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sriyamyaham. So whenever there is a decline in the righteousness and there's an increase in unrighteousness, then I manifest myself on this earth. And the 48th verse, what is saying? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is oft quoted, these verses of Gita, that to protect the righteous, paritranaya sadhunam, those who are righteous, those who are following the path of dharma, to protect them, and vinashaya cha duskritam, to annihilate the wicked, and dharma samsthapana, to establish dharma. I come again and again and again. Nothing restricts me. So this is the idea which has been spoken of here, that many say that how the infinite can take the form finite. So when you say that, you are limiting God, isn't it? When I say God is omnipotent, he's all powerful, then what restricts him from taking this incarnation? He can. If he's all powerful, the moment I say he cannot take birth as a human being, I'm restricting his power. He's all powerful. He has from him, this entire projection has been created. And how come he himself cannot take a divine incarnation? In the present day, it's very easy to understand. Suppose a software programmer has created a computer game. There are so many characters, landmarks, everything is there. And there is some issue with that computer particular game. So what the programmer does, he himself will be inserting another character with which he himself will be identifying himself or herself. And that character will be the one who is there to take care of all the issues which is within that virtual reality. So you can think of Avatar as something like that he has projected the universe with all the landmarks, with all animated and inanimate objects, and he comes down here as a character to take care of any issues which has been created there, to resolve it. And what are the three purposes? To establish dharma, to get rid of adharma, to protect the righteous is the first, to annihilate the wicked is the second, and the third is to establish dharma. So what actually dharma, that we will again take up this in the next class, but in short, we can have an idea that what's dharma and what's adharma. In one line, very nicely it has been described. What's dharma? Paropokara punyaya papaya parapirana. This is whenever you are thinking of the collective welfare, that is dharma. Whenever you are trying to give more importance to your interest at the cost of collective welfare, that is adharma. As simple as that. That my interest, of course, is important, but not at the cost of others. Just to take the traffic lights. The traffic lights, they are there for the collective, for helping everyone. To reach your destination, all should get the fair chance to go to their destination in time. So the traffic lights, but we find that when I am in the crossroad, now there is bound to be a chaos. Everyone wants to go to their destination first. So for the collective goodness, the traffic lights are there. So if I am following the traffic lights, though I have to go to my destination as early as possible, but not at the cost of that collective goodness. So that's why we give importance to the traffic light, isn't it? Yes. So, okay, my destination is important, going there is important, but not at the cost of others. So if you break that traffic rules, you know that you will be fine. So this idea, this traffic, idea of traffic, you can take it in the cosmic level. And that will get the answer of dharma and adharma. You'll find this is working everywhere. There's a plan, divine plan. The traffic is working everywhere. To give an example, very interesting example, you will find that something we cannot explain with our with our rational mind. So many things we cannot explain. That if you live in the hands of nature, you don't try to in any way manipulate nature. If you leave it in the hands of nature, in any country, you will find a wonderful thing, that the male and the female ratio is almost same. Isn't it something? It is a matter of a wonder, surprise, how it happens. Who is doing it? It's a random. The parents don't know whether it will be a boy or a girl, but collectively who take in nature, somehow you will find that ratio is same if you are not interrupting. Something like traffic is there, wonderful. Something is happening. Okay, and when adharma happens in India, you know that now with the technology, you can find out what's there in the mother's womb, and the child abortions will be there, and suddenly you will find the male population has increased, and now it results in what? You'll find all sorts of social disharmony will be there. So what you will in every field you will find that if you live to the nature, some balance is there, which we disturb because of our transgressions, because of our tremendous greed, that we have become like the cancer cells. See, in the body, it's a wonderful thing that every body, the entire body is growing in a very balanced way. Both the hands grow in the same way, both the legs in the same way. The body, this suddenly the head doesn't become too this big compared to the body. Everything has its own proportion. When we say that we have cancer, that when some of the cells, they start reproducing at much faster rate than they're supposed to. They're taking the food from the this whatever food you are taking from that, they're taking the nutrients, and they are reproducing at a much faster rate. That results in the tumor, that results in the cancer, and at result, what will happen at last? That the person will die, along with that, the cancer cell also will die. They are not going to stay without the body. They also will die. So you will find the entire society becomes carcinogenic when we forget that we have to maintain that balance, that traffic we have to maintain and grow. We have to grow, but keeping the welfare of the entire, the collective, the samashti, we have to grow. The moment we forget, then the adharma prevails. So behind all the dharma, the principle is empathy. All the laws are based on that. Based on the principles, the laws are made. Now, when you fabricate the laws based on the principles, first it seems very easy. Follow the laws, you're following the principles. That's dharma. I saw it in one of the interview of a very famous, what he says, he studies mythology. His name is Devdutt Pattanayak. One of his interviews is very interesting. He saw, they say, see, there's a lot of difference between Rama and Krishna. You see, Rama, he's Maryadavan Purush. He never goes beyond the laws. Whatever that as a son, I have to obey my father, whatever sacrifice it may result in. He's never deviating from any law. So why the laws are made to follow the principles, and he follows all the laws, and naturally he's following the principle. So that's the character of Rama. He's Maryadavan. And that's the opposite character, Ravana. He's intentionally breaking all the laws. Absconding with Sita, the other's wife, and all this, consciously you're breaking the law. This diametrically opposite is Ravana. So you are breaking the laws, naturally you're breaking the principle. Now you come to Krishna Avatara. It's very interesting. He's breaking all the laws. Not a single law, the entire war. So not he's an avatar. Now what happens with the passage of time? We humans are really very clever. we know to use the laws which were made to follow the principle. We start using the laws to break the principles. You see the entire legal system. They're using the laws to break the principle. The law is there to give proper judgment, isn't it? But you will find the one who has money, he has the judgment in his side. And that speaks of the deterioration of time, that adharma, how it comes. We as a human being has the capacity to use the law to break the principle. You will find when Duryodhana is saying that I am the king, that I won't give Shuchagra Medini, that even that the land as the equivalent to the point of a needle, that much land also I won't give without war. He has taken away the land, the kingdom from the Pandavas, and now he's saying without war I'm not going to give. They have asked only for 5 villages. He is not ready to give. So he's speaking of law. I am the king. I do have the power, and I will decide to whom. His empathy has totally gone. That his own brothers, his own cousins, he's not even ready to give 5 villages. He is speaking of law at the cost of the principle. He has taken the law in his own hand. So Duryodhana speaks of, you will find basically he is not breaking the law. He's the son of the king, and he's saying that this kingdom is mine. Pandu was a caretaker. Dhritarashtra is the real king. So I am bound to be the king, and Pandavas inherit nothing. So legally you may find everything is okay. But if you go through the Mahabharata, the way he is taking his kingdom and whatever Pandavas actually acquired by themselves, that also he has actually taken away from them. It speaks of exploitation, tremendous exploitation. So he's using the laws to actually break. It's almost like the present complicated legal system. So in such situation, again, you will find to uphold the principles, Avatara may have to come down by breaking the laws. We have to uphold the principle again. And that's what the Krishna is, we find diametrically. That's when the society becomes so complicated. When we start, and all the dharma in the present day, anytime you find it happens, we use the laws to break the principles. And then that's the question of this declining of the dharma. When such thing happens, God comes down again to make the thing straight, so that unless the collective society is integrated and balanced, we cannot think of our own spiritual evolution. First have to have that environment, that base, so to keep the things right, so that again we have the chance to evolve. So that's the purpose for which he descends. So that's the basic idea behind this idea of the avatarhood. So we will take this 7th and 8th verses again in the next class to elaborate on this idea of dharma, adharma, and the establishment of dharma. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar. So just to let you know that after class, if anyone feels like asking questions, you can ask questions. We can just allot 5 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, after that, we can just simply disperse. If you have any questions, you are welcome.